Hey guys, welcome back to another Gaming Memories video. Here we are taking a look at another Japanese racing style game by the name of Option Tuning Car Battle 2. This is actually a sequel to the original game in the series. I actually have done a previous video of it. I'll make sure to drop a link below down in the description so that you can go and check it out. This game was actually released directly a year after the first game in 1999. And straight away you can notice the differences of this game compared to the original game. The graphics have actually been drastically improved over the original, and you've a lot more game modes and there's a lot more elements that are involved in the game. These here series of games, even alongside the likes of Gran Turismo, were among the first games on the PlayStation or in video games in general to allow the use of customization and upgrading your cars for more tuning abilities, like having better tires, better engine equipment and accessories to allow the cars to actually go faster, so that it would actually allow you to gain an advantage in the races. Plus you could put on the likes of body kits and so forth to actually give the cars that more aggressive feel, but also to affect the likes of downforce and stuff like that to alter the car's handling elements. So it was quite a unique concept at the time, because there wasn't too many games out there that were actually doing this. Like I said, Gran Turismo was probably the only other game or series at the time that was actually doing this. The game itself now follows on with the same type of premise from the original game, where you actually do race around the likes of the streets and racetracks of the Japanese region, as street racing in Japan around the mid to late 90s was a very popular culture thing going on, and this game, and like all the other games in the series, reflect that. So as you can see here, you're driving around the likes of some of the highways or motorways within Tokyo in Japan, and you're trying to avoid traffic and so forth. And so you're trying to do it in a way that you're actually trying to compete against other racers on the track. You will have, probably in most cases, you will actually have one other car on the track with you at any given time, and obviously your task is to try and win the races and defeat your opponent and so forth, while also not crashing, as you can see here. So it's a case of, it's okay to do it in a game, to race like that, but not to do it in real life, because it will be dangerous. So you know yourself, don't do it. But in saying that, the game is actually quite fun, and it's a very good take on the likes of that Japanese, or even just the racing culture in general. The fact is, with all modifying cars and pretty much everything that goes with it, because it definitely and heavily inspired the likes of other racing cultures, not only within Japan but also outside of the region as well. And that's what led on to movies like of The Fast and the Furious and other car related movies to really explode with that culture across the world over the last 20 years or so. And a lot of it really came from the likes of playing the likes of these type of games, because they were very reflective of that. The cool thing to see about this game is the graphical aesthetics of the game. It actually is a massive improvement in terms of the car models and the graphics in general within the game. For me personally, it's definitely one of the best looking racing games on the system. I actually have added this in a previous video, and I've also covered it slightly in a video I done recently with the graphically impressive PS1 racing games. I'll make sure to also drop a link below in the description so you can go check that out, because I covered the whole 3 games of this series in that as well, because they are among some of the best and graphically impressive racing games on the system, easily. And although they don't compare as much to Gran Turismo, but again, at the time when I actually got my first chance to play any of these games, they were as close to Gran Turismo that I was ever able to see on the system, which kind of relates me to my first experience of this game and how I got involved with it. Because back in, say, late 1999, near enough to early 2000, we'd already been playing Gran Turismo 1, and I had purchased Gran Turismo 2 when it came out that year as well, and I've been playing that for months. But I had been also looking for other games as well, because I'm just a big fan of racing games in general. And how I actually got access to this, because we actually at home had kind of modified our PlayStation, or we got it modified so that we could play other different types of games. And you used to be able to go to local kind of markets at the weekends, and if you were lucky enough you could actually manage to get yourself maybe a copy of a game that you would be able to get for fairly cheap. It was just another way to actually play games back then. And funny enough, I happened to go up one Sunday, and this game, Option Tuning Car Battle 2, was among all of those type of games, and I'd never seen it before. And I took a look at the case of it. I was like, I've never seen this game. I don't even know what it is. I didn't even know it existed. But all I know is I like the look of the cover. When I seen the pictures in the back, when I seen how good the graphics were on it, I was like, oh, I have to play this, I have to try it. And I got it for like only about £5, which was for nothing back then. And I couldn't believe it, like, so I was so excited to actually go home and play it. And to be honest, actually, I wasn't disappointed. I was actually completely blown away. Although it's not graphically as good as Gran Turismo, for me, this game was definitely hands down the closest game graphically to that. Even though the frame rate isn't as good, because there does be quite a bit of screen tear on the screen, as you can see. But the visuals are very, very pleasing. The overall aesthetics of the graphics and the backgrounds and the backdrops, even on the models of the cars themselves, are very, very good. And other than Gran Turismo, this series here, and especially this particular game, is definitely one of the best looking racing games I've ever seen on the system. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The only difference was, because it was Japanese, it was in the language of Japanese, so I was like, I couldn't really understand it, so it took a while to figure it out. But the one thing I will say is, when you got into a game like this here, it didn't matter with the language barrier, you still figured out a way to be able to actually upgrade your cars. How I figured out to actually upgrade them was, when you're going to like different kind of like shops or different manufacturers to gain like parts, you didn't understand what was being said on the screen, so what you had to listen out to, you had to listen out to specific sounds. So when you upgraded the car and you purchased something, it would give a unique kind of like bell sound or like clicking sound. But the way you knew that when you got the best part possible for the car, it would give a different sound to every other sound that you actually had in the game. So that's when you knew you were onto something. So you kind of just went from there. But because there's loads of different manufacturers in the game that allow you to go around, and they all have specific parts to each car, which was really, really cool. And it completely allowed you to be totally engaging with the customization features of each of the cars. So once you managed to find all the best parts, the thing is, you wouldn't find them all in one manufacturer. You'd have to keep shopping around to find the best part, and when you did manage to find it, you would have the ultimate version of the car, which pretty much was unstoppable then when you actually managed to do it. And you could do the same for every single car in the game, which was quite awesome. But the cool thing is as well, because of the progression factors in this game, you actually did have to do that if you wanted to fully complete the game. You did actually have to play through the campaign with each particular car that was available, but you also had to upgrade it to its highest level to be able to complete it in terms of the percentage to fully complete it, which definitely left for a lot of replay value. But even, I remember like when I did first get this game, like going back to that, and it was actually a legitimate copy of the game, because I opened the case and the CD, everything, it had all the proper labels and logos and stuff on it. Everything was 100% legitimate, even the likes of the case and the inlays and the inserts and so forth. So I couldn't believe what I actually got for the money. For me, this was definitely one of the best bargain finds I had ever actually gotten on any game. And for me, this actually was a hidden gem, because I didn't even know that this existed. I didn't even know anything about it. And when I managed then to years later, or get used to using the internet and trying to find out more stuff, I tried to research a lot of these older type of games, and I realised that there was two other games. There was the first one, and then there was another one after it, Spec Gar. And I was like, well, I want to actually play them and see how good they are, because I really, really enjoyed playing this game. Now, it took a while, but now I've managed to be able to get the chance to actually play them, obviously through likes of emulation and so forth, so it does give you that avenue. And again, I have covered them in that other video that I mentioned, so again, I'll leave the link down in the description so that you can go and check it out. And I will be doing a more in-depth video of the Spec Gar version. That's the third game in the series, so I will cover that in a later video. But again, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing with this game. For me, it definitely is a hidden gem, and if anything, because it was even more enjoyable because of the fact is it was something I'd never heard of. We didn't even know that it even existed. You just happened to just come across it. It was just a case of being the right place at the right time. And for me, in my opinion, from my own personal opinion, for me, this is easily one of my most favourite racing games on the PlayStation. And it did get good reviews in likes of game magazines in Japan at the time, because they did praise it for the likes of its graphics, and again the replay factor, and the fact is being able to upgrade the cars and add different parts and so forth. There was so many branded names like with like body kits and manufacturers to get engine parts, so there was definitely a lot of stuff here in this game that made it worthwhile playing. And if you're a big fan of racing games in general, and even if you're a fan of Gran Turismo, these here series of games are definitely worth checking out, because they're very, very similar. So they are. Now, they wouldn't play in terms of the handling, they probably may not be as polished or as good as Gran Turismo in that way, but in my opinion, it's definitely the closest that you will get to Gran Turismo on the PlayStation, in my opinion. So I highly recommend that you actually go and check it out. If you've never heard of them, I definitely do recommend that you have a look at it and see what you think for yourself. But if you have actually managed to actually play this and you do know about it, I'd love to know what your thoughts are of this game, or even just the series in general, and what did you think of it, and did you enjoy it as much as I did back in the day, because they are a good series of games. Be sure to share it down in the comments below. So if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel, and again hit that bell icon to be updated whenever I release future videos, and again share the video, as I am going to be exploring a lot more of these classic style racing games that were released in Japan, and sharing my thoughts and experiences with everyone, because there's a lot of hidden gems here that we're yet to experience. So as always, make sure to keep playing those classic games and enjoying them, and keep those gaming memories alive.